Live from New York, this is the Harvey Hour. My name is Ethan Harvey. It's great to have you in today on a Tuesday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. How you doing today on this Tuesday?
Good. Really enjoyed those playoff games this weekend. Wow.
Yeah.
Every game except the last one was a nail-biter.
Well, I mean, even down in fourth quarter, it's still 7-6.
Yeah,
anybody's
true.
game.
Yeah,
anybody's
true.
game.
But then they just kind of, the defense ran out of gas, and they just pulled away.
I wouldn't say the defense, I would say that they could do nothing. We'll get into the games, of course, as always. Wild Card Weekend is in the books, and now it's time for the Divisional Round. We had we had one upset and one near upset for this weekend of games. So let's get into the first topic, which is some news that broke earlier today, which is that Mike Tomlin is now stepping down as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. In a statement from Mike Tomlin, he said, "While this chapter comes to a close, my respect and love for the Pittsburgh Steelers will never change. I'm excited for what the future holds for this organization, and I will forever be grateful for my time coaching in Pittsburgh." He had over 190 wins as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers for 19 years, never had a losing season. That is the big thing, big claim to fame for him. Was never having that losing season. So my question to you is, overall, what is your reaction to Mike Tomlin deciding to step down after nearly 20 years of coaching the Pittsburgh Steelers?
I'm not that surprised. The fans were giving him a very hard time in some of the games, saying he should be fired, really ragging on him. I mean, the NFL is a much bigger business than it was 19 years ago or even 5 years ago. It's in everybody's minds all the time. It's on TV. Games are on almost every day, it seems like. The stakes are so high. The Super Bowl is the biggest deal. The playoffs are really important. If you don't make the playoffs, look at all the coaches that get fired when they don't make the playoffs. And he's made the playoffs. Let's see, how many times? 13 times he made the playoffs. He won the Super Bowl once. He won the AFC North 8 times. He's never had a losing record. He's won 200 games. On Week 16 was his 200th victory. He tied Chuck Noll for 9th with 193 regular season victories. He's under contract for 2 more years with the Steelers, so he doesn't have an immediate plan to look for another job. But if he does, the Steelers could demand some compensation because he's still under contract with them for 2 more years. It's interesting that he signed that 3-year extension just this year. So I don't think he had, at least earlier this year, he wasn't thinking about stepping aside. But I think the one of the stat, he's the longest tenured coach for a North American sports franchise. And he won the 6th Super Bowl for the Steelers. I mentioned that he won it. I didn't say which one. So I think that he's hurt by how poorly he was treated by the fans. And I don't blame him for stepping down. And I think that he deserved better than what he was getting from the fans. He did make the playoffs. Now look at how many teams that would be happy with what the record that the Steelers had this year and the excitement that they had for their fans and the games that they won, especially that one against the Ravens when most everybody was counting them out. I think this will probably. I think Aaron Rodgers will probably decide to retire now too, because I think the only place he'd be willing to go back to would be the Steelers with Tomlin as the head coach, and with Tomlin gone, I'd be surprised if Aaron Rodgers continues to play. So those are my thoughts.
I think that we're not giving Mike Tomlin enough blame. You say the fans are too rough on him. Again, it was the same thing with Belichick. What have you done for me lately? Mike Tomlin since 2019 has not even had he's had a bottom 10 offense since 2019. It has never been ranked above 23rd. The defense hasn't been a top 10 defense since 2020. It seems like nothing is moving forward. Yes, he's an historic coach and one of the most respected coaches in the NFL. And he also has one of, if not the best record against the spread as a home underdog in NFL history. But the reality is, it was time. For the last 9-10 years, the Steelers have hit a massive brick wall that they couldn't exactly bust through. Haven't won a playoff game since 2016. Have had massive double-digit plus deficits in each of those playoff games since 2016. Their offense has done nothing. They haven't found a quarterback since Big Ben was there. They got Mason Rudolph, Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers. They drafted Will Howard in the 6th round of one of these past year drafts. They haven't figured out the quarterback situation yet. The offensive line is not exactly figured out. The running game was never figured out. The defense, it's great for what? Half a season, and then hits a wall. Look at Russell Wilson and the Steelers last year. They were great through 11 weeks. And afterwards, they were averaging 34 points allowed during that 5-game losing streak at the very end of the season. And what's unfortunate is we hold a lot of these coaches to, okay, what are they going to do in the playoffs? We're looking at Nick Sirianni. He's like, okay, what is he doing? Regular season, we don't know. Playoffs, well, we'll see. They just won a Super Bowl. We're taking a look at some of these other coaches. What are they doing? Andy Reid, we expect him to go out and win Super Bowls. Jim Harbaugh, we expect him deep playoff runs because he wins everywhere he goes. Sean McDermott, we're now basically betting his job that the Buffalo Bills, without Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Mahomes in the playoffs, they should be able to make at least an AFC Championship game, if not a Super Bowl. And if they make anything less than that, it'd be a failure of a season. Mike Tomlin's standard was just don't have a losing season. He wasn't winning in the playoffs. He wasn't making it to AFC Championship games. And his expectation for the fans and everybody else was, oh, this is not a team or this is not a coach that can win another Super Bowl. It was, let's just get to 9 wins and we're good. So their Super Bowl was 3 weeks ago. If that's the standard we're holding for this coach, then he should have been fired years ago. Because if we're saying, okay, this coach, he's really good. I really respect him. But he doesn't win. His standard is 9-8. And if that's your standard, you're kind of screwed for multiple reasons. One, that's your limit. That's your ceiling. And in large part, that's your floor. You're not moving anywhere from 9-8. You're not going out and winning playoff games. You're not going out there competing for championships. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you're stuck in the middle of the first round of the draft. So you're never getting a top 3 offensive lineman or a top-tier wide receiver, and in Pittsburgh's case, what it desperately needs is a top-tier quarterback. So if you're going to be stuck around the 14th, 15th, 16th pick every single year without wanting to trade into the top 10 or trade into the top 5, you're stuck with what you got. Or rather, I say, yes, technically in the first round, there's still a bunch of A-tier talent, but you want the A++ player in the top 3 or top 5. It's always a shock when a long-term head coach like Mike Tomlin or John Harbaugh or Bill Belichick and eventually Andy Reid, when they eventually decide it's time or they get fired or in Mike Tomlin's case, step down, it's always a shock. But I think Pittsburgh fans, a lot of them I would say are breathing a sigh of relief because this is an opportunity to start fresh and potentially, eventually, break through that wall. Now, there's 2 directions the Steelers can go depending on their head coach. First off, I'll say this, it should be a young coach. The Steelers is a job where an experienced hire may not be the best course of action. I think a young hire with Pittsburgh's historical franchise reputation, I think a young coach should go there because it could go 2 ways. One, you could tank. Finally get your number 1 quarterback and have your franchise quarterback of the future for at least, the next 10 years or so. That's one of the options. Or you hire a young coach, and all of a sudden he breaks through that 9-8. You haven't won a playoff game in 10 years wall, and you win a playoff game. But I think we can look at this team and say it was never going to compete for a Super Bowl. It was never going to compete for an AFC championship game. I said 4 weeks ago, and you were a little bit shocked when I said it, I don't care if the Steelers or the Ravens make the playoffs. I don't trust them to win a single playoff game. And this is exactly why. I think that Mike Tomlin, is he over the hill? Maybe, because he never got it right. The offensive line has been a mess. The running game's been a mess. The quarterback situation has been a mess. Their defense has been fine, but again, it hasn't been a top 10 defense since 2020. And we see moments where they looks really good, like last year. The first 10, 11 weeks, it was great. Then the last 5, 6 games, it averages 34 points allowed, and the offense is averaging 14 points. You can't do anything about that. So, yes. I mean, and it was completely fair. Completely fair. Because I think the fans are finally fed up with the fact that they're going 9-8 every year and going nowhere. If they were making divisional games and making championship games where you could say, oh, we're so close. But yet so far in this case, it's like we can't win a playoff game in a decade. So, yeah, the fans are a little bit rough. A, fan is short for fanatic, so you can understand that. And B, the writing was on the wall, same as Belichick. You go 4-13, what do you have to do? You have to fire him. Get somebody new in there.
He's only 53 years old. I would expect if he wants to be back, he will be. I think he showed a lot of class in stepping down rather than, that's
a better PR thing to say. I stepped down, though I didn't get fired.
He didn't get fired.
I know, but that's perfect for his PR. I never got fired. I chose to step down.
Yeah.
I call this a soft firing because I think he would have been fired.
I don't know. There wasn't any mention of that by Rooney.
Well,
Rooney would have been the one that fired him, and that wasn't the
Of course,
case.
he's not going to say I would have fired him. He's not going to come out and say, I really appreciate Mike Tomlin doing this because I would have had to fire him, and that wouldn't look too good on my reputation, firing a coach that's been here for 19 years. I don't think that looks good for anyone.
Never had a losing record.
And if that's the standard we're holding him to, then he's not a great coach anymore.
Well, he did better than 9-8.
He went 10-7. And still hasn't won a playoff game since 2016.
Okay, well.
Again, if we're setting the standard at, okay, he doesn't have a losing season, okay, then he's a middle-of-the-road coach. He's not a great coach that's winning playoff games. He's not an elite coach that's winning Super Bowls or even competing in them. He's a middle-of-the-road coach. His offense hasn't been better than 23rd since 2019. Defense hasn't been top 10 since 2020. So my question is, what has Mike Tomlin done right?
Okay, well, we'll see who replaces him and how they do.
Well, that's my question to you. What has Mike Tomlin, in your opinion, done right?
He's made the playoffs every year for a long time. He's never always had a winning season. He's done it for 19 years, and I don't think that will be replicated anytime soon.
Belichick was a coach for 23 years.
But I don't think, just as his retirement now, as a coach that had 19 years of winning records, I don't think that will come along again anytime soon. And I think that's quite an accomplishment, actually. And I think if he wants to come back, there'll be plenty of teams that will want to hire him.
I think the list is much smaller than what you're thinking.
You don't think the Titans would like to hire Mike Tomlin?
I don't think Mike Tomlin would never go to a middle-of-the-franchise.
They're looking at Mike McDaniel, and they're looking at Brian Daboll. So why wouldn't they look at Mike Tomlin? I mean, because
again, what has Mike Tomlin done right? McDaniel was limited to Tua.
Winning record
Daboll
every
made
year.
Jackson Dart
you
a
don't think
viable
the
quarterback.
Titans would be happy with a 9-8 or a 10-7 record?
Well, here's my question:
anytime soon?
Would the
look at
Titans
their
be
record.
better?
The last 5 years, they've been horrible.
Right, but would the Titans get drastically better with Tomlin? He hasn't gotten the
They couldn't
Steelers
get
right.
any worse.
He hasn't gotten the Steelers right.
The Steelers have a winning record every year. That's not
And
easy
what
to
has
do
that
in
gotten
the
them?
NFL.
What has that gotten them?
That's not easy to do in the NFL. Look at how many coaches get fired every year.
About 6 to 7 every year.
Right. So, but there's 32 teams, 8, let's say 7 or 8 coaches. So 25% of the coaches are getting fired every year. That's pretty high, So it's not easy. It's very hard. I think it's gotten much harder because the media is so big in the NFL now. And every little thing is reported on. There's so many reporters, people like us out there doing
We're not reporters.
podcasts, talking about these games, criticizing the players and the coaches.
Honest criticism.
So it's a fishbowl. You're in a fishbowl, and you're under a microscope all the time, every second of the day. It's got to wear on people. I think after 19 years, the guy deserves to say, I stepped down. I did what I could. The record speaks for itself, and I'm going to take some time and think about what I'm going to do next.
My guess is he'll join TV. He has a great personality. Like I said, he's a historical coach. He's probably one of, if not the most respected coach in the NFL right now. But he hasn't done much in terms of legitimate success. Hell, they haven't even tanked, so you can't get any good draft capital. You can't get a top-tier quarterback or a top-tier offensive lineman or a top running back or a top quarterback, wide receiver.
That has a bearing on their record then, because they
Thank you.
They haven't been able to land the very top.
That's my point.
So you think they'd be best to tank for a few years so they can get
100%
some better draft choices?
That's why I don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers should be looking at an experienced hire. That's why you go for a young guy so he could tool with the team, experiment, because they've been stuck since 2010 is the last time they competed for a Super Bowl, where they lost to Aaron Rodgers in his lone Super Bowl. You have done nothing for what? Now we're at 16 years at this point of serious competition. Again, you haven't won a playoff game in a decade. So I think at some point it's either what can go wrong? What do we have to lose now? Oh, yeah, the winning record. At that point, I think people are fed up with it, because it's not doing anything. It's doing more harm than good, because you're not getting high draft picks. You're not getting top-tier talent. When you do have talent, you get, Broderick Jones, who hasn't been all that great. The defense falls apart late, and I completely understand, because that's to carry the offense. We're going to talk about it. The defense of the Texans had more points than the Steelers' offense did last night. And it wasn't even the offense. It was the special teams with Chris Boswell. That's how bad it was.
They were going up against the team that has the very best defense.
Riley Leonard cooked this defense.
Could be a legendary defense.
Riley Leonard cooked this offense in Week 18. Or this defense, excuse me.
Well, I think the Texans' defense is elite.
I agree, but I'm just saying.
It rivals the Bears' 1984 defense. It's one of the very best. And defenses like this don't come along very often. We'll see how the Patriots do against them next week.
Well, I think the Texans have more to worry about with their offense than they do with their defense.
Well, that's for sure.
Nico Collins dealing with an injury as well.
Sure, but their defense won this game for them. I mean, look at C.J. Stroud. He turned the ball over 3 times.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
The Steelers couldn't capitalize on it. They couldn't get any points off those turnovers.
True. All right, well, let's go into the games. So let's start with Saturday's games with the first one, which was the Los Angeles Rams going up against the Carolina Panthers. This was a 10.5-point spread, and it came down to a 3-point ball game. 3 points, 34-31. Stafford, 204 yards, 3 touchdowns, only 1 interception. Bryce Young, what a game he had. What an absolute game he had. 264 yards. He did have a touchdown. It was an incredible performance. I didn't think I'd see that repeat performance against the Rams where he went 17 of 20 for 200 yards or something with 3 touchdowns. No, but he replicated it and nearly beat up on the Los Angeles Rams. So my question to you is, overall, what was your reaction? And really, first of all, I want to say this before I finish the question. Bryce Young just signed his 5th-year option, or he's going to be offered that 5th-year option. He was your bounce quarterback, and he was a bust all at the same time. This season, he threw for 448 and also 54. So he has been a very volatile quarterback. So overall, what's your reaction on both sides? The Rams nearly losing and the Panthers making this a serious, serious competition.
Well, my overall summary is trailing by 4 with 2:38 left. Panthers fans thought the Rams situation couldn't have been bleaker. But Matthew Stafford's veteran leadership and playoff experience pulled out a squeaker. Stafford was 6 of 7 on the final drive, capping it with a perfectly placed 19-yard TD pass to Colby Parkinson with only 38 seconds left to win 34-31. That was a great game. Stafford finished 24-42, 304 yards, 3 TDs, 1 interception. Puka Nacua had 10 catches for 111 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Devontae Adams had 5 catches for 72 yards. Kyren Williams, 13 carries, 57 yards. And Blake Corn, 11 carries, 45 yards. But to me, it was Stafford in this one. The competitiveness of the Panthers was surprising, I think, to me, as the Rams were favored by 10.5 points. And I took those points. I thought the Rams would annihilate them. Stafford credit his calmness to 17 years of NFL experience. He just went out there and did his job. It was surgical the way he picked them apart in that last drive. The Panthers fell behind 14-0, but came back to take a 24-20 lead early in the fourth quarter. The Rams came back to score on a 13-yard TD pass to Williams to take a 27-24 lead. They're going back and forth, back and forth. The Rams got a stop, but a penalty stopped their drive, which could have iced the game. The Panthers blocked the Rams' punt, setting them up at the 30-yard and scored 4 plays later on a pass from Young to Coker, giving them a 31-27 lead. And then Stafford performed his magic to win the game. Stafford said a lot to clean up: the interception, the block punt, a drop TD pass at the end of the first half. Cam Newton was there to hit the keep pounding drum before the game to provide some mojo to the Panthers, which they did. They almost beat the Rams. Canales said he was proud of what we accomplished and where we got, to being sick about the opportunity that was right there in front of us, and that is going to sting. McVay said we're going to need to be able to play better if we expect to advance further. You mentioned Bryce Young's stats. The running game really wasn't there for them. The 13 carries, 46 yards, 2 touchdowns for Hubbard. Dowdle had 5 carries for 9 yards. Coker was the leading receiver with 9 for 134 and a touchdown. McMillan had 5 for 81. I was very surprised that the Panthers were this competitive against the Rams. It's got to worry the Rams a bit, but I really think that Matthew Stafford stepping up there in that last drive showed that the Rams came in with the more veteran team, the more experienced team with the playoff experience, the Super Bowl experience. A lot of those guys on that team played and won in a Super Bowl not that long ago. I think getting over this hump, there are some teams that have the number of other teams. No matter how good or bad they are, they make it tough for the other team. And I think the Panthers did that to the Rams this year. And now that they're beyond this, who knows? Maybe the Rams can go deeper.
And I kind of agree with that because the Browns give Joe Burrow fits his entire career. Yeah. We're talking about week 1. You nearly lost to the Browns. A Browns team that just had 5 wins and probably shouldn't have had the last 2, which is against the Cincinnati Bengals, and you beat the Steelers. So really, they should have had 3 wins, whatever the case may be. So I agree with that. Maybe some teams just have their number. Yeah. And I think that, we have to realize that there was a little bit of the Dan Campbell, Bruce Arians type of thing, no risk and no biscuit in a similar way. Where they had a lot of success on 3rd and 4th down, specifically 4th down. The Panthers did the last time they played. I think they went 2 for 2 with a couple touchdowns, or 3 for 3 for a couple touchdowns, something like that in the first game. And they thought they could replicate that. One in their own territory, and the other one, basically 2 yards beyond the 50. So it was a very, very risky. And by the way, that was on the first drive of the game. You're on your own 45 on a 4th and 1. First of all, you're passing it. Don't love that. I understand. You had 2 touchdowns, all 4th down, whatever the case may be. 4th and 1, you QB sneak that or you hand it off and you trust your running game. I don't know if I'm trusting Bryce Young, who, albeit, has been up and down, but he's played all right this year, so much so that the Panthers are going to give him his fifth-year option. And then what did the Rams do? Immediately score a touchdown under 2 minutes later. So I think there's a lot of just missed opportunities and kind of, 4th down risky calls and whatnot, but I'll give a lot of credit where credit's due. This was a beautiful game to watch. Nobody expected this game to be close. Like I said, the point spread was 10.5 entering this game. Nobody gave Bryce Young and the Panthers much hope to make this game even remotely competitive, but all of a sudden Jalen Coker came out of left field and absolutely torched the Rams defense. He was all over the place. Tet McMillan also had a pretty good game. Xavier Legette, I don't know exactly what's going on with him. He's not the level of talent that we thought, or he's not having the big impact that we thought. Devontae Adams, they targeted him 13 times. He had 5 catches. That's a bit of an issue. I think he had a couple drops as well. He got nailed on one of the passes. He got absolutely blown up. He was definitely banged up a little bit. I think he got evaluated for a concussion. He didn't have, the touchdown impact that he's had this entire season. But no, I think that this was just Rams good football. It wasn't Rams great football. There were a lot of holes. Again, special teams was an issue. The running game was fine, not great. It had some big-time runs in there, absolutely. But I just think that this was a Matt Stafford late in the game. I think what he say, cut their throats or something like that. I think that's just what Matt Stafford did in this game. And there's some talk how if Matt Stafford wins the Super Bowl, he's a top 5 quarterback. Okay, let's pump the brakes a little bit on that talk, please. A lot of quarterbacks are better than Matt Stafford if we're talking about historical. He would be a top 10 quarterback, 100%. I already think he's a top 10 quarterback. Top 5, push it a little bit, just a bit. But yeah, I think ultimately, this was a Matt Stafford. You got to have it. Go get it. A beautifully placed ball to Parkinson for the go-ahead touchdown. And I just think that ultimately this is what the Rams will have to do. Now, here's the interesting situation for them. Next week, they go up against the Chicago Bears, where the Bears better hope the fourth quarter starts in the first quarter. This is going to be a game where if you have a double-digit deficit in the fourth quarter, the Bears have a 50% chance of winning that game. The rest of the NFL has a sub 5% chance of winning that game. So the Bears, they're averaging 29 points in the fourth quarter. So the Rams, and this is something that teams do, just like the Packers did, we're going to talk about that in the next segment, foot off the gas. No. You got to keep on that. You got to keep the accelerator down, and the Rams have to go out and think, we got to score 50. We got to score. We got to put up so many points. Because Caleb Williams in the fourth quarter, Ben Johnson in the fourth quarter, it seems like they just don't care. They're going out there just slinging it, making these crazy plays. Really, it doesn't look very structured, but it kind of is in a way. So the Rams, I'm a little bit nervous for them. And I think rightfully so, the Bears have earned that respect. Because what they've been doing and what they did last week, this past week against Green Bay, the Rams, after nearly losing to Bryce Young again, I'd be a little bit shaky if you're a Rams fan or if you're picking the Rams.
I'll say one more thing about this game. I think that the big problem for the Panthers was they couldn't run the ball. If they'd been able to run the ball more, they could have kept Stafford off the field. Stafford had 3 touchdown passes. Okay, so I think that guy's amazing. Personally, he's a 17-year veteran.
Yeah,
he's out there running around like he's 25 years old.
If we remember, to start the year, he had that back issue.
He's very mobile. He started the year with a problem with pinched something in the vertebrae.
He had it all during the offseason.
Yeah. So how he was able to play like that, I don't get it. But he's got a lot left in the tank if he can play that way in that game. I think that he showed me a lot, and I think that the problem with the Panthers was a no running game at all. Really, 46 yards by Hubbard. I mean, he had 2 TDs, but they were short ones. And Dowdle, where the hell was he? 5 carries for 9 yards. I mean, that was the difference in this game to me, because Stafford was on the field, moving them up and down the field, and throwing those touchdown passes, and that was the difference.
Absolutely.
And I think in terms of what you say about the Rams going up against the Bears now have a mindset, we're never out of it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we could be down by 25 points at the beginning of the fourth quarter. Hey, we're in it.
Yeah.
We're in it.
And that is a dangerous mindset. That's a
dangerous mindset.
For a well-coached team.
That's a very well-coached team. But I think against the Rams, they've got to do more earlier. And that's going to come back. That's going to haunt them somewhere down the line here, to get so far behind and then have to do some miraculous stuff and play mistake-free football, which is very hard to do, to catch up and take the lead. But hey, man, we're going to talk about that game now. So I was an amazing game. Two amazing games, one right after the other.
Yeah,
that was really impressive. The NFL's got to be ecstatic about this wild card weekend, because the games are all fantastic.
100%. Let's get into that game, because what a game it was indeed. The Packers and the Bears. The Bears raced a 21-6 deficit and scored 25 points in the fourth quarter to beat the Green Bay Packers 31-27. Caleb Williams, my God, playing with absolutely no fear. Meanwhile, the Packers, after this game, people were calling for Matt LaFleur's job. I couldn't believe my ears when I was hearing that. People were saying, well, what if Matt LaFleur gets fired? How attractive is a Green Bay job? I couldn't imagine him fire, and lo and behold, they're talking about an extension, which makes 1,000% sense in my mind. Although I can kind of agree with where they were coming from to open up, especially the third quarter, what the Packers did, or actually more of what the Bears did, depending on what you think so. But ultimately, my question to you is, what was your reaction to the Packers' 21-6 collapse and then allowing 25 points in the fourth quarter to Caleb Williams and the Bears?
Well, the Bears outscored the Panthers 25-6 in the fourth quarter. Was deja vu. Right? We saw this in Week 16. Done in again by Caleb Williams and his crew. Down 21-6 at the end of the third quarter. The Bears' chances look bleak, just like they did in Week 16 against the Packers. But just like in that game, the Bears, mounted a furious run in the fourth quarter, and this time 25 points scored to 6 for the Packers to win its first playoff game in 15 years. It's been 15 years since the Bears won a playoff game. Their fans were going nuts, man. I had never seen anything quite like it. They were berserk. It was really something for them to have that game pulled out. I mean, it could have gone the other way, and Jordan Love did move the team down the field after Caleb Williams made that great pass to DJ Moore, and he threw it in the end zone. It was incomplete, and that was the end of the game. So it was you couldn't ask for a more exciting game. After Williams connected with Moore to give the Bears the lead with 1:43 left, then Love led, as I said, a 44-yard drive, but he threw the ball into the end zone on third down, and the time ran out. And it was just a heave. He had dropped the ball prior to that, so it was kind of a broken play. Ben Johnson said, "We just keep playing along. We keep fighting. We've been proving that this year. That's who we are. That's what we do." My thought was the Bears were too conservative early in the game. They were sticking with the run too long before handing it over to Williams and the passing game. The Bears' defense, which was terrible in the first half, only gave up 2 field goals in the second half, and they were a big reason why this comeback happened too, because there are a number of 3-and-outs that the Packers have that gave the ball back to the Bears and gave that ball back to the offense, and Johnson took the handcuffs off Williams and let him play, and wow, it was really something to behold. I think that was so the defense I thought was a major factor in the game. The Packers lost 5 straight games after Micah Parsons went down with that knee injury. It's amazing how important he really was to their team. Matt LaFleur said, "I know we fought through a lot of adversity this year. Unfortunately, we didn't do enough to overcome the adversity. That's all on us collectively. We've got to do more." I mean, Jordan Love couldn't ask for a much better game from him. 24-46, 323 yards and 4 touchdowns. Jacobs had 9 for 55. Doubs has 8 for 124 and a touchdown. And Golden, their rookie, he looks like a very promising wide receiver. 4 catches for 84 yards and a touchdown. And Williams, his percentage completion was only 50%. But 24 of 48, 361 yards and 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions too. That was, turning the ball over in a playoff game is generally doesn't turn out so good, but he managed to overcome it. Swift was 13 for 54. Loveland had a great game, 8 catches, 137 yards. Moore had 6 catches for 64 yards and a touchdown. He's an elite player in my mind. And you look at the Bears winning this game and looking at their roster, they have so many young players. They picked up a number of good wide receivers. They have Williams. They have a veteran and Moore. They need to improve their defense some. It'll be interesting to see how they do against the Rams next week. I think the Rams' defense is a little bit suspect in my mind. I mean, they did stop the run against the Panthers. Will they be able to do it against the Bears? And will the Bears be able to keep this magic going when they get down? They find a way to come back.
This game was shocking. I mean, you're down 21-6. Year 2 quarterback, year 1 head coach. Nothing was working for you. Absolutely nothing. You started the game not that great. You started with a field goal, which is fine. Then it was, for the Packers, touchdown, 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 and then missed field goal. That's the Packers drives. You went field goal, pick, turnover on downs, turnover on downs. It couldn't have been worse. But as we've seen over the course of the season, the Bears have been the greatest fourth quarter team this season that I've at least seen. Seen a lot of NFL this year. Doing this show requires you to watch a lot of NFL. The Bears by far are the best fourth quarter team I've ever seen. I mean, through 3 quarters, not in this season, through 3 quarters, the Bears did nothing but kick field goals. That's it. The offense couldn't do much. And then entering the fourth quarter, you start with a field goal. Fine. 21-9. Still, you don't feel like you're in it. But I do think there is a silver lining because all of a sudden, Caleb Williams throws a pick. They immediately punt on 5 plays later. The third quarter, the Packers did nothing. Run, pass, pass, run, pass, pass. I think pass, run, pass. That was basically the entirety of the third quarter for the Green Bay Packers. They did absolutely nothing. In fact, the numbers are for the third quarter, they had a grand total of 29 yards. 29 yards. Went 0 for 3 on third down. They only had 5 rushing yards, 1.7 yards an attempt. They did nothing. They did absolutely nothing. And the Bears, again, like I said in the opening to this, if they have a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter, they're 3-3 this season. The rest of the NFL is like, what? It's a sub-5% chance to win. So the Packers, they were really up against it. And then you saw it slipping away, and the Packers, it was a runaway train. The Bears couldn't be stopped. And there is, I feel like, a feeling that the Bears have where once it gets to the fourth quarter and they're losing, it's minds turned off. Just throw the football. Just make the play. Don't overthink it. Hell, barely think about it. Just do it. And that is probably the most dangerous version of the Chicago Bears, where they don't think that hard. Caleb Williams isn't trying to figure things out too much. I remember what Justin Fields said a couple years ago, where he's thinking too much on the field. Which, by the way, very bad comment to say if you're a quarterback, but besides the point. Fourth quarter, just turn your mind off. Just play football. Caleb Williams already plays backyard football. Just play it at a higher level, and he's been able to step up with that. And it's even more dangerous when you have a very good offensive coach in Ben Johnson, and then your defense finally locks it down. You put up 21 points allowed in the first half. You only allow 6 in the second half. So I think this is going to be a very, very dangerous Bears team heading into next week, going up against the Los Angeles Rams, who nearly lost to Bryce Young. And I still think if the Rams are going to win this game, the first thing would be you have to turn down the turnovers, because that's how the Panthers beat them the last time they played, and that's nearly how they beat them this time with the Matt Stafford interception. The Bears, they don't turn the ball over, and they take the ball away a lot. So Stafford's going into a very, very difficult situation. The only way the Rams, they need to get out to an early lead and never let go. The Packers 21-6, sure, or 21-3, excuse me. Sure, we'll hold on to it. And then all of a sudden, they let go a little bit in the second half. The offense wasn't that interesting. Run, pass, run. Nothing that intricate, nothing that fancy. And all of a sudden, the Bears, you see them in the rearview window. All of a sudden, they got their blinker on. Oh, they're passing you. And all of a sudden, now you're left in the dust, and the Bears are 50 feet down the line. So I think that this is a very dangerous Bears team. When they all of a sudden, Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson, they're just like, you know what? What do we have to lose?
I think they're, in this game, and the other Packers game, they're too conservative earlier in the game. They run the ball. They try. I admire them for trying to establish the running game and sticking with it, because they did have a very good running game this year. But in games where it's not working,
Josh Jacobs averaged 2.9
you got to balance. You got to
carry.
balance the offense out a little bit. But 1-2 pass punt is not a great strategy. So, Williams said, and I think this. He said, and when they asked him about winning the game, he said, "True belief, that's all you need. Belief that the coaches will call the right plays, and which they finally did in the fourth quarter by letting him do something." And believe that the players will execute those plays. The wide receivers are great for the Bears. I think they worry about Williams getting a little out of control, and he's a high-strung guy. You see him over on the sidelines. He's going nuts
Days
when
Advent,
when they're 3 and out or something bad happens. He gets all upset.
I love it.
He's really passionate, and I think the players love him.
Oh yeah,
I really do.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they were talking. DJ Moore couldn't say enough good things about him in the post game when they were
Press
sitting there,
conference, yeah.
Loveland and Moore and Williams. And Williams, he didn't smile. He just he's a very intense guy, very intense.
Yeah.
And I was very impressed with his play.
Absolutely. I mean, what we've seen this year is last year, adversity was an issue. Once they lost that Hail Mary game against the Commanders, everything fell apart. And Caleb Williams admitted it. They haven't gotten over it.
Yeah.
This season, Ben Johnson, you buy the interior of the offensive line, all of a sudden DeAndre Swift's better. Kyle Monangai could have a 100-plus yard rushing game. Now Caleb Williams is taking significant fewer sacks, which leads to fewer interceptions because he has more time in the pocket and he has less likely chance to throw it away or throw it into a defender's arms. Colson Loveland, great pick. Phenomenal pick. He was the key mark of this game, 137 yards. He got targeted 15 times. Having Roma Dunze back healthy, having DJ Moore out there. I mean, they definitely have some playmakers. What we saw last year with, oh my God, look who they're bringing over, Swift and Moore. And they signed Moore to a deal. They have a Roma Dunze. We thought that the Bears team that we had last year, we expected this year's Bears team to be last year's team. That's why people were putting him in the playoffs, and some pundits, Nick Wright, was putting him to win or make it to the Super Bowl. Because we expected the level of talent to equate to on-field performance. And Matt Eberflus as the head coach, not great. And they all said, a couple different OCs. They had a new head coach. Pass game coordinator was changed as well once Eberflus got out there. So last year's Bears team was supposed to be this year's Bears team. It's just you had a bad head coach, bad OC, bad pass game coordinator, and just things were too many moving pieces.
I give Ben Johnson a ton of credit because
1000%.
he has found a way to control Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
And he knows when they get down, he's got to take the handcuffs off and let him play. But Caleb Williams has learned how to play a little bit better under control, which he didn't have last year. He was all over the place.
I call it controlled chaos.
Yeah, I mean, when a play break down, he wouldn't throw it out of bounds. He would run all over the place
and try to make the play.
Make the play and often turn it over.
Right.
He's not doing that this year. And I don't know, the Bears are dangerous. I think the Rams have a lot to worry about in this game. It's going to be tough to know who to pick in this one. The Bears are at home.
Next Friday. And
their fans are berserk. I've never seen anything quite like it.
Yeah.
They were really unbelievably the whole game. The whole game, they were just. They would be very tired at the end of that game.
We have to realize this.
And a ton of them were still there way after the game was over when they were talking, and they making so much noise it was hard to hear the answers that the players gave to the announcers.
Yeah.
It was really something. I love that passion.
Well, you have to realize this is a division rival.
Yeah.
This is a true division rival.
One of the
Packers-Bears.
one of the oldest in the league. I mean, both these teams have been around for more than 100 years.
Yeah. So there's a lot riding, and I'd say, and the question last week was, who takes the NFC crown? Who wins Who wins the rubber match? Turns out to be the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, but coming up, we got more football to talk about. Niners upset. They were 6-point underdogs against the Eagles, and they were able to upset the Eagles there. Chargers, Patriots, Herbert falls again, as well as the end of maybe more than one era. Mike Tomlin out. Is Rodgers next after the Houston Texans defense outscored the offense?
Those Bills. And also, I picked the Bills.
Yeah, that's crazy. Your take, by the way, good job on
I did.
short
I picked
form
the
contact.
Bills.
By the way, that Trevor Lawrence prediction, spot on. We'll talk about that right after this break.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name's Nathan Harvey. It's great to have you in today on a Tuesday. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our next topic of today's show, which is, it should be a surprise, but I don't think, in retrospect, it is the switch topics here. Let's start with the first game on Sunday. The Jacksonville Jaguars fell to the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen gets his first road playoff victory. He moves to 6-1 in wild card games. The only loss coming early in his career, going up against Deshaun Watson. Trevor Lawrence throws a couple interceptions, one late. He had like a minute left in the game. First throw was an interception to a cover Jacoby Myers. I couldn't fathom it when I watched it. It was a crazy game, but this game came down to what? It was a 9-yard QB sneak, tush push. By the way, Sean McDermott, one of the votes to ban the tush push, I might add. Just going to throw that out there as well. And it won the game, which is interesting. But ultimately, were you more impressed with the Buffalo Bills getting this big-time victory or more disappointed in the Jacksonville Jaguars falling apart late in the game?
Well, I picked the Bills in this one. Josh Allen carries Bills to 27-24 win over Jags, showing his immense worth, while Trevor Lawrence threw 2 interceptions and came back to earth. I really think this is the game. Trevor Lawrence came back to earth. He was not the superstar. He made mistakes. The running game, I think that Liam Cohen, you can blame him too. I mean, they were running the ball at a 6.7 per carry clip, and they'd stop doing it. They had 23 carries, hundreds of yards, well over 100 yards, and a 6.7 per yard carry with ATN and Tootin. And they stopped doing it. They should have kept running the ball and kept Josh Allen off the field because he was amazing. He took a pounding and he doled out punishment, looking every bit like the reigning MVP, I think, carrying Buffalo to its first road playoff win in 33 years. This is the first road playoff win the Bills have had in 33 years. The 36-yard pass to Brendan Cooks under pressure just before the 2-minute warning was the key play in the go-ahead TD drive with 54 seconds to play, which the Jags just laid down on that play. They let them score, so they'd have, a little under a minute to try to get something done, which they didn't, of course. Allen, 28 of 35, 273 yards and a touchdown with 2 rushing TDs. He was sacked once, and he was beaten up in this game. He was beaten up badly. Shakur had 12 catches for 82 yards. James Cook was kind of bottled up in this game. The Jags kind of controlled the rushing game. He only had 46 yards on 15 carries, which made Allen's performance even more amazing. The Jags got the ball back with a chance to drive for the win, but Lawrence's first pass was tipped, as you mentioned, for an interception. The Bills had been 0-5 on the road in the playoffs under McDermott. I think, let's see, that was one thing I wanted to mention about Josh Allen's injuries. He was hurt at least 3 times in the game. He had 2 hits to the head and on the same play. And he had a finger injury when he threw the ball and hit a helmet. And then he banged his left leg was extended in an awkward way on his 2-yard TD run, and he went to the tent on all 3 occasions, but he never missed a play in this game. Lawrence, on the other hand, 18 to 30, 207 yards, 3 TDs, and two interceptions. ADN, as I said, 10 for 67, and Tootin 4 for 51. And Washington had 7 catches for 107 yards. He looks like their leading receiver going forward here. ATN had 5 for 49. The Jags were averaging, as I said, 6.7 yards per rush, but only ran the ball 23 times, while Lawrence threw 30 times and had those 2 picks. Lawrence said, "You got to live with it. It's life. You don't get do-overs. That's a bummer." I think Cohen's play calling will be questioned in this analysis. I'm questioning it right now, given the success they had against the Bills' run defense. If he'd run it more, it would have kept Allen off the field. I think that was the difference in the game.
Well, I think that. Am I surprised in Josh Allen's performance? No, because as everybody claims, he's Superman. Superman. He wears a cape. 306 total yards in this game, 3 total touchdowns. That's what Josh Allen does. It's either that or he plays not a great game, turns the ball over, and loses. Those are the 2 variations of Josh Allen. You never really just see a middle-of-the-line game. It's always Superman, which he has to be a lot of the time with Buffalo, or not a great performance, what we saw like against the New England Patriots earlier this year. So there's 2 sides of the Josh Allen coin. You're never going to get it down the middle. He played all right level of a game. So in that case, I'm not really impressed with Buffalo because we've seen Josh Allen be Superman. I'm more disappointed in the Jacksonville Jaguars because they had really, really, like you said, bad play calling and then just stupid play from Trevor Lawrence. The first one would be right before the end of the half. Well, besides the fact that they decided to put a second that didn't exist back for a missed Cam Little field goal, but that's beside the point. A couple drives before that, Trevor Lawrence on a 4th down dives a yard short when nobody was near him. That would have been a 1st down, keep the drive moving, potentially a touchdown. Instead, he lunges forward, his shin hits the ground, which, by the way, the digital marker said it was a 1st down, but upon replay, you could see his shin hits the ground. He dove before anybody touched him, before anybody was remotely near him. And that cost them a turnover on downs, which the Bills went 10 plays, 92 yards for the go-ahead touchdown to make it 10-7. That was Trevor Lawrence for you. Bad play. The interception late in the game, about 59 seconds left. You force it, 59 seconds. That's a lot of time to work with in the NFL. I understand I think he had 0 timeouts at the time. You have Cam Little, who as soon as you make it to the 50-yard line, you're in field goal range. That's how crazy Cam Little has been this year, and really who I think he'll be crazy for his entire career because he has the record indoors and he has the record outdoors. He did miss one, but again, I don't think that one should have existed because they put a second that didn't exist because the center didn't snap the ball in time for Trevor Lawrence to spike it. So that shouldn't have even counted, in my opinion. And I picked the Jaguars, so me saying that, no bias here. But I do think, all they had to do was get to, okay, he missed it, so be it. Get to the 45. 45, it's a 62-yard field goal. Cam Little could do that. Cam Little's kicked 67 and 68-yard field goals before. I have no doubt they would have lined up for the game-time field goal at that point. But with 59 seconds left, you force it to Jacoby Myers, who the defender was all over him. To me, that made no sense. You forced it to him 2 other times in that. I just think ultimately this was a bad game for Trevor Lawrence and a bad game for the Jaguars. I do think it was a panic play. But again, what are you panicking for? You have 59 seconds left. That just shows maybe that Trevor Lawrence isn't as quote-unquote clutch or he's not used to clutch situations as humanly as possible. I think, that, again, this is a fine Josh Allen game. He was Superman. He had to be. James Cook could do nothing. Absolutely nothing. The number 1 rushing offense and the number 1 runner did nothing, as I predicted.
It's interesting. They stopped the Bills' running game, which was a major strength,
and they had a great running
and they gave up on their running game, which was working.
Yeah,
it was. They'll go back and look at that game. And say we beat ourselves in this game. We could have won this game, and they're right. They could have won that game. They were playing at home, and they should have won the game, but. You got to give the Bills a lot of credit. They've been in a lot of playoff games. They have a lot of playoff experience. They haven't been that as successful as they could have been, but they do have that experience that the Jaguars didn't have. And I took that into consideration when I picked the Bills.
Well, you nailed it. You made what was the phrase you used? Was it boneheaded mistakes? I think that's the term
Trevor
you may have
Lawrence,
used.
yeah, boneheaded.
I'm trying to think. The short form that I posted about your prediction. Did you use boneheaded mistakes? Because that last interception was a boneheaded mistake.
Yeah,
100%. So congratulations to the Buffalo Bills. You go over. Who do they play this week? They play the Denver. Oh, they're favorites on the road against the Broncos.
Really?
They're favorites on the road. Broncos are 1.5-point underdogs.
I'm sure they don't like that. I bet they'd rather be the underdog. They better hope, I'd say the Patriots better hope that the Broncos beat the Bills. Because if the Bills wind up going to Foxborough to play the rubber match, given the way they played in that second half of the last game they played, Patriots better look out.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, let's get into a game that I thought, topics changed around. Let's get into the next game of Sunday, which is the Philadelphia Eagles going up against the San Francisco 49ers. The Eagles are 6-point favorites in this game. And they ended up losing in horrific fashion. So much so, Kevin Patullo was fired earlier today. He's no longer going to be the OC. However, Nick Sirianni says, you know what? You could stay for a different role, which I don't know why you would do that. But changes had to be made, and Nick Sirianni decided to move off of Kevin Patullo to be the OC no more. So my question to you is, what's your reaction to the 49ers upsetting the Philadelphia Eagles? So they were 6-point underdogs, and they came out on top in this one.
I picked the Eagles and was wrong, but the 49ers win with good defense and some offensive razzle-dazzle. while the Eagles' offense sputtered and looked frazzled. It looked frazzled. I'm sorry. They just like they did most of this year. They just didn't seem to have it together. And A.J. Brown, he couldn't catch a cold. I mean, he was awful in this game. The 49ers used a similar double reverse passing play that worked for a TD in the 2023 Super Bowl against the Chiefs. I wonder if the Eagles watched that game, and if they did, they might have been prepared for this. To surprise the Eagles with Juwan Jennings throwing a TD pass to McCaffrey, and McCaffrey's catch was amazing. That was a fantastic catch. But it was a windy night there, very windy, and Jennings threw the ball kind of up in the air, and it was blowing around a little bit, but McCaffrey brought it in over his shoulder, over his head, and managed to catch it. Excellent catch. Big play. 49ers defense was strong in this game. A.J. Brown, as I said, couldn't catch a cold. And though Barkley had a good game with 26 for 106, it wasn't enough to beat the 49ers. Purdy was 18 of 31. 262 yards, 2 TDs, 2 interceptions. Looked like he could be to blame with those 2 interceptions, both by Quinyon Mitchell. But the Eagles only got 3 points off the turnovers, and Purdy then collected himself and led the game-winning drive. 10 plays, 66 yards, 506 taken off the clock, completing key passes to keep the drive alive. That was really, that showed a lot of character to me, that he was able to pick himself up after making those mistakes and lead that drive. The Eagles had a 10-play, 44-yard drive that they did in the final minute there, the final right at the end there. And they had a chance there. It ended with a 4th and 11 incompletion with 40 seconds left. So they looked like they might be able to pull it out there when they moved the ball down the field, but then, their wide receivers, I guess Devonta Smith had a reasonable game, but not A.J. Brown, the big talker who complained all year long and was worried more about his stats than about the team. He was fighting with Sirianni on the sidelines there at the end of the first half. Sirianni kind of played it down, saying it's just emotion, He's competitive. I respect that, all that. But I think he'll be gone at the end of the season somewhere else. It's a great revenge for Purdy, who tore the ligament in his elbow in the 2023 NFC Championship game against the Eagles and couldn't play most of the game, which if he had been able to, they may have won that game. It was a great game for Jennings, who had a 66 yards receiving, 48 yards rushing, and a TD pass. How often does that happen? McCaffrey, 15 rushes for 48 yards rushing, and 6 receptions for 66 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was huge in this game, well over 100 yards from scrimmage. Demarcus Robinson also, the first series there, he had his big catch. He wound up with 6 for 111 yards and a touchdown. Hurts, lousy game, 20 of 35, 168 yards, 1 touchdown. If he hadn't had so many drops by A.J. Brown, his stats would have looked better. As I mentioned, Smith had 8 catches for, I think, 70-some-odd yards, and A.J. Brown, 3 catches, 25 yards.
I think ultimately, again, 6-point favorites. You should be surprised when they lose, especially with what we just saw for the 49ers offense the prior week going up against the Seattle Seahawks. But I'm not surprised. I did pick the Eagles. But again, whenever you pick the Eagles, especially this season, you don't feel good about it because you may get the win, but it's going to cost you. Whether it be heart pain, head pain, you're in physical pain watching the Eagles because something always doesn't go right, or Sirianni does something stupid, or A.J. Brown's talking, or Jalen Hurts seems frustrated. There is no running game. The defense gives up you a bunch of yards and a bunch of points. You have halves where you don't score any points. So this year, the Eagles, it was rough watching them. So I think it's interesting to look at through and through when you take a look at this Philadelphia Eagles team. And that's what I'm going to focus on. Because the 49ers, with Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan and CMC, and a week to prepare without George Kittle, who tore his Achilles, They went in here and they played great. Robert Saleh's defense did a tremendous job. He deserves another head coaching spot. Hell, he should still be coaching the New York Jets today, and they wouldn't have 0 interceptions on the season. First time in NFL history. And people want to bash Jalen Hurts or whatnot. I'll start with this. 1, OC got fired. Again. Let's point that out. OC got fired again. I'll talk about that in a second. But Jalen Hurts, I understand he deserves a decent amount of blame for not only this season, but where the Eagles have been so erratic, so volatile, he deserves some of the blame. But we also have to add a little bit of context here. Offensive line's been dealing with injuries. A.J. Brown keeps talking. Nick Sirianni, I mean, let's be honest. I doubt Nick Sirianni's going to get fired. Hell, he just won a Super Bowl with this team. But let's paint a picture real quick. Let's project. If Nick Sirianni got fired, and I actually want to bring you in quickly for this just so I get your opinion on it. If Nick Sirianni got fired today, would he get another head coaching job?
I think so.
I don't in the least because
You
here's
don't? Come
not in
on.
the least.
Hey, of course he would.
I'll tell you why.
You don't think the Titans would offer him a job?
I'll tell you why. Not over what's currently
You don't
out
think
there.
the Cardinals would offer him a job?
Not with what's out there currently today. And here's why. Let me explain. What does he do? Does he call offensive plays? No. Does he call defensive plays? No. Okay, well, he's a locker room guy, okay? He doesn't call plays. He's a locker room guy. Dan Campbell-esque. A.J. Brown won't shut up on social media, on Twitch streams. There was a report a couple years ago. Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni were not even on speaking terms. They put up an inflatable whatever. They lost the game. They took it down. Vibes were not high in the Philadelphia locker room. So if he doesn't call offensive plays, if he doesn't call defensive plays, if he's not a great locker room guy, if the most popular non-player is a security guard, the Eagles are a complete mess. An absolute complete mess. I think if Nick Sirianni got fired, the Eagles' job itself is interesting because one of the first moves I would make is A.J. Brown. You're out of here. Toxic to the culture. I love Jalen Hurts at the podium. Very professional. Very professional. I love it. A.J. Brown won't shut up about stupid things like his own quarterback, like his own team. He's very selfish. He wants to get all the numbers. If we take a look at some of the best games A.J. Brown has played, they've come in losses, not wins. Some of the best wins have been when A.J. Brown doesn't do that much, except talk in the postgame about how bad the passing game is. But let's talk about another thing real quick. Jalen Hurts. Can you get this guy any level of consistency, please? He's had 9, 10, maybe 11, depending on if you include some in-season changes, offensive coordinators and play callers in his from collegiate career into the NFL, and you're adding another one for next year. Get this man a level of consistency. The only consistent piece was Shane Steichen for 2 years. That was the only piece. Get this quarterback some level of consistency, because if it's not the same exact game plan, it's either a completely different one or a revised version of the other one. It doesn't work. It flat out doesn't work. Since college, these are his offensive coordinators / play callers. He's had Lane Kiffin in Alabama as well as Steve Sarkisian. He's had Brian Dable and Mike Locksley. He had Mike Locksley in 2018 along with Josh Gaddis. He has had Cale Gundy, excuse me. He's had no official OC. I think Nick Sirianni or Doug Peterson may have called plays. Then he had Shane Steichen, then Brian Johnson, then Kellen Moore, then Kevin Patullo, and then TBD. Shane Steichen is the only consistent one. Get this man a level of consistency, please. And I promise, anyone who's doubting Jalen Hurts, look at the statistical comparison, and hell, look even at the career comparison. Very similar, and in some cases beats out. I was going to do this a while ago, and I might in the offseason. If people are starting to bash Jalen Hurts, through what is he, 6 seasons in, 5 seasons in? He is a better overall quarterback when it comes to accolades, statistics. It's kind of a wash for statistics. But accolades-wise, as everybody's favorite quarterback, apparently, Russell Wilson. So if we're gonna bash Jalen Hurts for being a system quarterback and needs a great offensive line and needs a bunch of weapons, Russell Wilson got carried by Marshawn Lynch and the Legion of Boom. And I've always said it, and I'll say it again. Once the let Russ cook era started, that's when his career officially died. Because since that moment, he's only fallen off a cliff more and more, and he got benched for Jackson Dart on the New York Giants.
Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure how that links to Jalen Hurts. You're saying
I'll tell you exactly how it links to Jalen
Hurts. It'd be better off. The team would be better
cut
off
him more slack.
if he did less.
If you cut Russ some slack and say he's a great quarterback when he had the Legion of Boom and carried by a running game, give Jalen Hurts some slack because he's actually won a Super Bowl MVP. Hell, he has an MVP. He has a regular season MVP vote. Yeah. Russell Wilson, his entire career, hasn't even gotten a single vote for MVP. During that insane era of Russ.
Well, he came up pretty small in this game. 20 of 35.
Kevin Patullo is a complete mess.
168 yards and 1 touchdown.
Kevin Patullo is a mess. He got fired. Give this guy a level of consistency, please. I was going to come in and say, I want consistency, just not Kevin Patullo. Literally 5 minutes after I wrote this, breaking news. Nick Sirianni moving off of Kevin Patullo. Amen to that. A.J. Brown won't be there next year. Devontae Smith was a bigger impact player in this game than A.J. Brown was.
Oh, yeah,
A.J. Brown, like you said, couldn't catch a cold. There were plays where it hit him in both hands on key downs, third down, fourth.
The final drive, he had one went right through his hands.
My guess is he wasn't that exactly talkative in the post-game press conference. That's what my guess would be.
No, he played terribly.
My guess is he didn't talk that much.
His book, he was reading the wrong chapter in his book.
Saquon Barkley matched his receiving yards. Saquon Barkley can't catch really at all. He has trouble with his hands.
He had a pretty good game, but it wasn't enough.
He had 100 yards.
106 yards.
So. I think Brock Purdy, commend him. I'm commending Robert Saleh more because of just the amount of injuries that piled up to literally your biggest name players on defense, and you're able to pull out a phenomenal rest of season and into the playoffs. Now you're coming up big. So I give a lot of credit to Robert Saleh, Kyle Shanahan with Mac Jones, and then an injured Brock Purdy, and then evolving into what the Niners are.
Their coaching staff was phenomenal.
I think if we're talking about coaching staff today, just like we did a number of years ago when Saleh was the DC, they have the best coaching staff in the NFL. And we thought that when Robert Saleh was the original DC years ago. So I think that, the 49ers did a great job. If they had
Robert Saleh in the Super Bowl game there, I don't think the Chiefs would have beaten them.
Maybe.
I mean, they had the lead twice. Once in the fourth quarter. They came back, took the lead in the fourth quarter, and then had the lead in overtime. And the defense caved. And
I think they realized Brock Purdy overthrew 2 touchdowns. I think we forget about that.
Oh, but they did. He brought him back for the lead in the fourth quarter that they lost when the defense allowed, I think, a field goal. And then they had the lead in overtime, and then the Chiefs went down and scored. So and then the DC got fired, which is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That might have been Steve Wilkes.
The San Francisco goes to Seattle now, right?
That's a rubber match.
That's a rubber match. But
last time they played was 13-3.
Juwan Jennings was pounding the table saying, "We're coming for you. We're coming for you."
But
the Seattle at home is very hard to beat, right?
Absolutely.
With the 12th fan there.
Absolutely.
12th player, their fans.
Yeah.
Making so much noise.
All right, well, let's talk about more disappointments. If we're talking about, the Eagles being disappointments, let's move on to another disappointment I'm talking about one side of this, which is Justin Herbert.
Okay, well, the Patriots, I'm happy.
No, you should be, absolutely. After being told, easy schedule, they don't play anybody tough. How about going against the number 5 defense in the NFL and beating them 16-3? I know the point spread the points scored wasn't all that great, but just going up against a defense and not completely falling apart. How about that for a change? Drake May had a terrible half. I mean, it was one of the worst halves he's ever played. And then he just played good enough, especially late, that throw to Hunter Henry. Revenge touchdown. Hunter Henry, former teams of the Chargers. Beautiful throw over the defender. I think that was Derwin James. He rainbowed it over for a Hunter Henry touchdown. He did have 2 turnovers, 1 fumble. So ultimately, it wasn't a great game for Drake May, but he was able to get the win. Justin Herbert, though, he was terrible. Again, as we've seen in several playoff games now. 159 yards. He had a fumble lost. He really couldn't do much. So overall, my question to you is, what do you think? We've never really asked this question on the show before. What mattered more, the Patriots getting the playoff win or the Los Angeles Chargers taking the big L against the Patriots? What mattered more?
Well, that's a hard question. I'll get to it.
Okay?
Sure. So my takeaway on this one, the Patriots winning 16-3. Vrabel gets bloody lip in Patriots winning celebration. For the beaten Chargers and battered Herbert, the loss was certainly a deflation. So Vrabel talked to his team, interestingly, about before the game about being prepared to bleed for New England. Then Milton Williams sacked Herbert to secure the Patriots' victory and bloodied Vrabel's lip with a headbutt in the celebration. So that was pretty interesting. Vrabel said, the big dogs come out in January. I think Milton took that to heart. He comes over and got me pretty good. But that's what happens. May threw the TD pass to Henry in the fourth quarter, and the defense sacked Herbert 6 times to beat the Chargers 16-3. I was surprised by how good the Patriots defense was in this game. They wanted it more than the Chargers. I think that really showed up. Because the Chargers offensive line has been a mess all year. Borregales kicked 3 field goals. That was good. The Pats had not won in the playoffs since the 2018 Super Bowl, so it's been quite a long wait for the Patriots to get back in the winning ways in the playoffs, but they did it in this game. May, as you said, just good enough, 17-29, 268 yards, not bad. A touchdown and an interception. He ran for he was the leading rusher in the game, which was quite a surprise, I thought. 66 yards. He also had a lost fumble. The Patriots defense was the difference in this game to me, holding the Chargers to only 207 yards and 6 sacks of Herbert, who was 19-31 for only 151 yards and led the team in rushing with 57 yards. Also, he had a fumble. He's now 0-3 in playoff games. And so your question to me is it a bigger deal that the Patriots won or that the Chargers lost? I'd say it's a bigger deal that the Patriots won because I think on the Chargers side of the ball, even though Herbert had a terrible game, he's playing with a broken hand. He's been sacked more than any other quarterback in the league this year. His offensive line is a total disaster. The fact that they even got to the playoffs, I think, was a win for them. I think Harbaugh, it's tough for him 2 years in a row that he's lost in the first round of the playoffs, but he's a better coach than that. I think there was more to it related to the injuries than the strategy. The defense played very well. They sacked Drake May, I think, 5 times. So it was the offense that couldn't get anything done. And it's 2 things. The Patriots defense came to play. They were pumped up. They were fired up. They were motivated. Give Mike Vrabel a lot of credit for that, I think. And the offensive line of the Chargers was a sieve. Herbert, he's really a very high character guy. He said there was no issue. I just have to do a better job holding on to the ball. And he talked about the fumble. Harbaugh, he's a warrior, saying that Herbert was injured. Was inhibited and held back by his hand injury. May set up the 28-yard TD pass to Henry with a 16-yard pass to Booty and a 13-yard run by Stevenson. After May was intercepted on that tip ball in the first quarter, the Pats came up with a big stop as the Chargers failed on 4th down at the 2-yard line. So that was a big play, and that was a big series in this game. I give a lot of credit to the Patriots defense in this one. I think they play as a team. The defense complements the offense. The offense a little disappointing in this one. I think they were nervous, and I think they're over that now, and I look forward to them beating the Texans. Yeah.
Well, you said something that I cannot let go, and I'm not going to let it go. Justin Herbert's out of excuses. No excuse. I don't care he had a broken hand. You know why? He played with a broken hand, and they got to this point. Don't care about the offensive line. Offensive line got him to this point. He was able to overcome the offensive line, and it was week 16, 15, whatever, 17 maybe? That was when they were officially out of the running for the AFC West. So, again, bad offensive line all year. You were going into the year without Rashawn Slater, and early in the year, you lost Joe Alt. So, again, I understand. Bozeman, worst center in the league. Mekhi Becton, one of the worst guards in the league. You had some of the worst tackles in the league. I don't care. I do not care. Because that offensive line, sometimes you don't have a running game. Well, Marion Hampton got hurt. He played one snap in this game, ran 1 time for -1 yards. He was out for a couple weeks this season. Justin Herbert, broken hand a few weeks ago. He played through it. He got him to this point. No excuses. Absolutely no excuses. Maybe one. But now after today, no more excuses. Because his OC and I talked about this exact same thing. We were in this same room on the same exact topic of Justin Herbert losing a playoff game, which he has still yet to win. He's 0 for 3. And I was having this, you have to fire this specific person because one of his weaknesses is one of the most inconsistent things you could have. You cannot be this bad under these circumstances and somehow keep your job. And that's my boy, offensive coordinator, now former offensive coordinator for Los Angeles Chargers, Greg Roman, who if his team rushes for under 100 yards in a game, historically, these are the numbers. In fact, let's go full screen in order to fit everything in. That's the wrong thing. There we go. This is the full screen. Let's fit everything in here. This is Greg Roman. Record when his team rushes for under 100 yards throughout the season. The 2011 49ers went 3-3, the only 3 losses they had all year. 2012 in the regular season, I should say. 2012 49ers 0-3. 2013 49ers 4-1. 2014 Niners 2-5. Bills 0-7 during his tenure in Buffalo. Baltimore, NA, they didn't rush for under 100 yards in 2 of those seasons. They went 1-2 the only other year, and then 1-0. And then the Chargers, he went 5-11. A grand total of 16 wins, 32 losses, a 33 winning percentage when they rush for under 100 yards. You can't have it. You can't have it and succeed because, let's say, Najee Harris, he was out for the entire year with, I believe, an Achilles injury. Omarion Hampton gets banged up. Now you're stuck with Vidal. I mean, what are you going to expect? You're not going to expect to rush for 100 yards with Vidal whatsoever. He's boom or bust. So you have to adapt. You have to mold. And Justin Herbert, I'm sorry. I demoted him to B+ last year after being A-. He gets demoted all the way down to a B- now. Because now, people always say, why don't you complain about X quarterback? Or why don't you rip on X quarterback? Fine. I'll put Justin Herbert in the same exact conversation that we've had prior. He is a worse version in the playoffs than Lamar Jackson is. Because Lamar Jackson was really bad early, grew, and the last 4 games he's been fine in the playoffs. Again, he's had some bad moments. Pick, fumble against the Buffalo Bills, had an opportunity to tie the game with a 2-point conversion that Mark Andrews dropped. So be it. However, the pick and the fumble definitely put him in harm's way. Justin Herbert tries. Like Lamar Jackson tried and failed badly, but he's improving. Justin Herbert went from trying and catastrophically failing to in this game, you look at the All-22, there were throws to be made that he didn't make. So went from trying and failing to not even really trying. So this is a bad situation for Justin Herbert to be in. Again, we could praise his arm talent. Jameis Winston had great arm talent. A lot of these quarterbacks have really good arm talent. You have to control it. You have to be able to harness your arm talent's power that it has and morph it into something that wins football games. Josh Allen, erratic quarterback. Superman to Clark Kent. You want him more to be Superman than the average of Clark Kent. Caleb Williams, very erratic backyard football rookie year. Ben Johnson, erratic, but a controlled level of chaos. Justin Herbert, I don't care he had a broken hand. I don't care that he had a bad offensive line.
Well, you're being too hard on Justin Herbert.
He's 0 for 3 in the playoffs.
Yeah, but look
he
at
has
him.
the
Look
second.
at the-
Hold on. He has the second worst passer rating among qualified quarterbacks in the entirety of the NFL playoffs.
Okay, he in this season he was beaten every game. Every game he was pounded. He was sacked more than any other quarterback in the league this year. He broke his hand. Even though he broke his hand, he's still out there running the ball.
That's his choice.
And it's not just him in this game. It's the rest of the team too. The defense played well, but it's the Patriots defense. The Patriots defense stepped up. They played like they haven't played all year. That's because I think a lot of it had to do with the offensive line for the Chargers just being so poor. And that's not Justin Herbert's fault.
Drake May took 5 sacks. Justin Herbert took 6. Drake May was the better quarterback on Sunday. Not only that, we have to realize, he broke his hand. Great. I commend you for going out there and playing. It's
good that you give him a little credit.
It's the same argument I had with Baker Mayfield when he had a torn labrum. I commend you for going out there and giving it a good, honest try.
You said he would never start in the NFL
That's
again.
not the conversation about this at all. But he's out there with a torn labrum, and it cost him his starting job with the Cleveland Browns. Justin Herbert's playing with a broken hand. He went 9 of 31 for 159 yards, no touchdowns.
19 of 30.
19 of 31 for
You said
159 yards. Excuse me. 19 of 31 for 159 yards and no touchdowns. And he was ineffective. There were players open. He wouldn't throw it. I commend you for playing, but when it becomes more of a hassle to keep you out there, that's when it affects your team, and that's when you should be on the bench, meaning rest. Baker Mayfield, it cost him his starting job with the Cleveland Browns. Playing with the torn labrum, I commend you for playing with a torn labrum, but you weren't playing all that great. Justin Herbert's playing with a broken hand. I commend you for playing and playing hard. You were the leading rusher in this game for the Chargers. But at some point, when you're not the 300-yard passer that you once were, and you can only put up 159 yards against the Patriots pass defense that's been hit or miss, and Christian Gonzalez was banged up in this game, what am I supposed to do with you? I can't say, great job. You did so well. Great job. You got out there and you said hike.
He's had tough luck in the playoffs. I agree with you. I still think Justin Herbert is a quality quarterback in this league, and he'll be back next year. And
losing a playoff game.
And if they can get their offensive line fixed, he will be having, big passing games and going for 300 yards and having a little time to get back there and look downfield and pick out the open receiver. Even
when he did. He had the 11th ranked defense in 2024. He threw 4 interceptions against the Houston Texans. Wasted that defensive performance. Wasted that defense the entire season. This year, he had the 5th best defense. He put up 3 points of offense. Again, I commend you for playing. You have a broken hand. You didn't play well. And again, I defend him last year, saying fire Greg Roman.
Yeah, well, they did now. They fired
They
him
actually
this year.
improved this year when he rushed for under 100 yards. Only 3 out of 4 3 wins, 4 losses.
Yeah.
I commend you for playing. It wasn't good enough. Drake May, his offensive line's banged up too. Where's Will Campbell? I think he might have been back out there.
He was back out there.
But he didn't play well, though. He didn't play well.
Well, he was still out there. Right?
Again, that's okay. For Justin Herbert, it's the same argument.
That's because the Chargers have a good defense. They have a top 5 defense.
Okay, the Patriots have the number 6 defense.
Yeah.
So again, we can't. Okay, now we're moving the goalposts a little bit. We're moving the goalposts. Is it bad offensive line or good defense? Because you just said it was the Chargers' good defense, but for Herbert, it's the bad offensive line.
Oh, I think that the Chargers lost because the Patriots' defense was overwhelming to them, and it's largely because their weaknesses on the offensive line had a big effect. And I do think that I agree with you. Justin Herbert did not play well. He did not play up to what he's capable of playing, and 2 years in a row now. And now he has an 0-3 record in the playoffs. So, that's not good. He's got to figure something out there. They have to figure something out, and I think they will.
Justin Herbert went 1 of 7 on passes 10 or more yards downfield. 1 of 7 for 20 yards.
He was under a lot of pressure in the game.
He was pressured. Okay.
What was the pressure rate?
According to PFF, if you go to Next Gen Stats, it will be different because for some reason they never match. On Pro Football Focus, it was 56.8%.
Wow.
Of his dropbacks.
That's pretty big.
Drake May, 35.9.
Okay. Thank you.
He was under pressure, sure.
Yeah, he was under a ton of pressure.
You play with a broken hand. I guarantee you. I'm going to look this up real quick. How many of the pressures were on him? PFF has this thing called allowed pressures. How many of the pressures were on Justin Herbert himself? Okay. The third highest of the wild card. The third highest. The first one was Jalen Hurts. Second was CJ Stroud.
So you admit that the guy was under a lot of pressure.
I never denied it. All I'm saying is you can't use that as an excuse because that same offensive line and the same broken hand got him into this situation.
Mm-hmm. Well, the playoffs is a different situation.
Jake May's never been there. The last time they won a playoff game was the Super
Bowl.
Bowl.
He didn't really play that well compared to the way he played all year.
The last time the Patriots won a playoff game was the Super Bowl.
He's going to win the MVP. That wasn't an MVP performance the other night. He had 1 touchdown.
Well, the vote's
pass.
already in.
He had an interception.
The vote's
he had
already
a fumble.
In. The vote's already in. So these plays don't change anything.
In terms of playoff performance, it was his first.
Yeah.
And they did win the game. I give him a lot of credit for, not getting rattled by that first interception. It happened almost at the very first couple plays of the game.
Yeah.
And they did as a team. I think the Patriots play as a team. I really do. I think the defense complements the offense. They have good special teams. I give Mike Vrabel a ton of credit.
Yeah, 100%.
A ton of credit,
100%.
really. They got to be so happy they won that game. But they got their hands full next week. It's going to be quite interesting.
Do they?
Against the Texans?
Do they? Well, let's talk about that team, because what a game it was. It ended potentially 2 careers, and that's the Houston Texans going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And my God, what an ugly game it was. Actually, entering the fourth quarter, it was 7-6 with an opportunity for Aaron Rodgers to go up against this, you're saying 1985 Bears defense. That is arguably the greatest defense of all time. I would say the 2000 Ravens also deserve a seat at that table, not having a single offensive touchdown allowed in the entirety of the playoffs in 2000. So I do think they deserve a seat at the table. But yeah, and it was 7-6. C.J. Stroud looked like a bottom 2 quarterback in the NFL. I mean, it was C.J. Stroud levels of bad. Max Brosmer against the Seahawks levels of bad. He couldn't stop fumbling the ball. And some they were able to put out on top and win 30-6, ending Mike Tomlin's tenure as the Pittsburgh Steelers coach. And I think you're probably predicting, as am I, Rodgers' career is probably done after this game. So my question to you is, what was your biggest takeaway from last night's game?
The Texans' suffocating defense was too much for the Steelers, and a 30-6 blowout win. The Texans fans became Super Bowl believers. Houston's suffocating defense play include a hit on Aaron Rodgers and a fumble returned by a defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins for 33 yards and a TD. Houston won its 10th straight game. Pittsburgh had 175 total yards and only 81 yards in the second half. Kalen Bullock picked off what might have been Rodgers' final pass of his Hall of Fame career and raced 50 yards for the final score. So the defense had 2 scores in this game. Tomlin said, I didn't necessarily compare it to any other moment. It's here and now, and certainly it's difficult, but that's what we sign up for. That's the life we live. Houston's offense continues to be suspect in my mind, with Stroud turning the ball over 3 times in this game. He had 1 TD pass to Christian Kirk in the first half, who had 8 catches for 144 yards. Marks, the running back, had 112 yards rushing. Rodgers had just 146 yards passing and was under constant pressure and sacked 4 times. They had no running game at all, really. I mean, they had 175 total yards, and Rodgers passed for 146, so that leaves you with a minuscule amount, 35, 6 yards and rushing. I think it will take some time. Rodgers said it's going to take some time for him to decide whether he's going to retire or not, but he said, I'm not going to make any emotional decisions. I'm disappointed, obviously. It was such a fun year. A lot of adversity, but a lot of fun. And now I think probably he was surprised that Mike Tomlin stepped down today, and I think that will make his decision a little easier because, as I said earlier, I don't know where else he would go. Pittsburgh defense kept them in the game, but ran out of gas, I think, late in the game. The offense couldn't capitalize on any of the turnovers they got off Stroud. That was big. And Metcalf, returning from a 2-game suspension, had no impact in this game. He had 2 catches for a puny little amount of yards. Pittsburgh is in the same situation now as last year, not only in search of a quarterback now, and an ending of their 0-7 playoff drought, but now they're looking for a head coach.
Yeah. It's kind of sad, but it's also, I think it's also a mercy killing. I think that's what this was. Because it ends a sad end to Rodgers' career. And
sad end to Tomlin's career.
And that's what I was supposed to, and it breaks the Steelers fans, it breaks the chains away from Mike Tomlin saying, all we need is to go 9-8 and I'm happy. I don't need to win a playoff game. Super Bowl, who needs those anyway? I won mine. I made it to 2. I won mine. 9-8, just keep up that record for 19 years, and I'm all good. My Super Bowl was like, 2-3 weeks ago. I'm chilling. I think Steelers fans are actually happy about that. Yeah, this was sad. I was watching that game, and all I could just think is, we're seeing the end. Brady against the Cowboys, that final game where the Cowboys blew out the Bucs, you knew it was time. Brady was under duress, 1-2, balls in the dirt, never wanted to get hit. I understand he's 45 years old. Who would want to get hit by a 300-pound guy just steamrolling you want to take off your head? I could completely understand it, but you saw it in that game. Brady had a great throw, I think, to Julio Jones for a touchdown, but that season you saw the Bucs. It was Brady's first losing season of his career, and it was because he went out there against the Falcons in Week 18 and scored, I think, once or twice. Then they got pulled, and then the Bucs ended up losing that game. Brady got the start, so technically he takes the L on that one. So in that season, you saw the Bucs offense wasn't going anywhere. The offense couldn't do much. Brady was 1-2, got to get it out. Rodgers this season, it kind of had the Tua effect. 1-2, got to get it out. Dink and dunk and dink and dunk. The occasional deep shot, but dink, dunk. Try to get the running game going so I could actually throw it deep. So the linebackers have to pull down. I have somebody coming over the top of the football field. I could just laser it over to him. Rodgers looked done. The offense was really bad. I understand it's a great defense, but you saw Rodgers. He's got nothing. He's supposed to come back next year. What?
I disagree. He's got nothing.
You think this year Rodgers can go out and be a starting quarterback in the NFL?
His arm is still good. He
so
still
is Brady's.
He still throws a dart.
My issue is the sphere in his mind of the pocket.
Okay, well, that's...
You
need
a wall.
He was constant. The Texans were in the back. When he got the snap, the Texans defense was there waiting for him. It was like the Steelers offensive line were outmatched totally in this game. It's not Rodgers' fault. I mean, he had no time at all to pass. It was like he was so frustrated. He still has a good arm, and he's still a smart player.
Smart player. He threw it to Bullock, and Bullock didn't need to move for the interception. The game
was over at that point. The game was over. It was like a desperation.
It was over because the offense couldn't do anything.
It's a desperation pass. There was no time. They knew they weren't going to win at that point.
But you realize, it's Rodgers' fault. Rodgers did nothing. He brought him in the field goal range, and thank God Chris Boswell has a leg of steel. Because here's the only reason they actually put up points. Rodgers did nothing. 0 points contributed because of Rodgers. Or because of the offense. It was all special teams.
Well.
The defense, they doubled the points of the offense. That's how bad the Steelers were. Rodgers, he has an arm.
It was bad.
He has an arm. So does Tom Brady at 9 years old? He said he'd give him a month, he said, this year. Give him a month. And he can go out and play at a decently high level. My issue is not his arm talent. You think Peyton Manning can't throw a football? I can. I think he can.
I think Rodgers is, he's not as mobile as he used to be, but he's not a statue.
Of course he's a statue.
He's not a statue.
Of course he is.
He can move around back there a little bit, and he throws a dart, and he's
Again,
very accurate.
My issue is not his
very
arm
accurate.
strength.
If he's got more than 0.6 of a second to do something with the ball,
he got pressured less than Justin Herbert.
He was pressured a lot, and he got hit hard.
He's a quarterback. What do you expect?
So I don't know. I'm not that as hard on Aaron Rodgers as you are.
Well, no, I'm being realistic here. If we're saying, again, why are we giving a lot of these players the benefit of the doubt?
I agree. I don't think he's coming back.
Why are you giving the benefit of the doubt?
Pittsburgh was the only place to come back, and I think he's probably saying, oh, my God, Tomlin called it a career there, and that ends it for me, too. I'm sure that's what he's thinking now.
But my question is, why are you giving Rodgers the benefit of the doubt? He had a higher completion percentage than passer rating.
No, in this game, he had a very bad game.
You just said no, but he's under pressure.
The benefit of the doubt, in terms of his ability, and his ability is still.
Jameis Winston's got a lot of ability.
He had some good games this year. He had the game against the Ravens there. He was the reason they won that game, and he didn't have Metcalf in that game. They had a bunch of journeyman receivers that they pulled in from other places to come in there. Really, they were. Thielen came in. Right, he's over the hill, and they brought in who's the other guy?
MVS.
Yeah,
he's had some big impact plays over the last few years.
Metcalf was supposed to be the guy, and he came up small in this game.
Well, yeah, but we do have to realize, again, my thing is never about his arm talent. Again, Tom Brady at 49 years old can still throw the football. My issue is, and why I was comparing him to Brady in his last year and why it was over, was that Nobody can get close to him. And he's going to get pressured. He's going to throw it in the dirt. He's going to throw a bad pass. And then he gets moody. That's my big one. He gets moody really quickly. He drops it. DK Metcalf dropped the pass. He didn't target him till the middle of the third quarter? Are you kidding me? He got suspended for 2 games. This is supposed to be his breakout game, his revenge game. And you don't target him for a quarter and a half? He's one of the most targeted contested catch guys in the NFL since he came into the league. You know why? He's 6'4" and built like a tank. He's a wide receiver version of Derrick Henry.
Well, I don't know what happened there. But,
Rodgers got moody. He dropped the pass. Oh, boo-hoo. Dropped the pass. You threw it to MVS 4 times. Why? And you lost the game because of it. Same play. Look right, MVS. Look right, MVS. Look right, MVS. Meanwhile, Kenneth Gainwell broke right over the middle of the field. Didn't get to him. That's a touchdown. I think it was against the Browns. Yeah, it was against the Browns.
Well, I think Aaron Rodgers is calling it a day. I think he's done. The 4-time MVP in the league. He's up there in a lot of stats in terms of his career. He does have a Super Bowl win.
7-10 in the postseason since his last Super Bowl.
Kind of like Tomlin, as he got along after that Super Bowl win, he kind of faded a little
7-10 in the playoff games,
but
is a sole reason of losing
I still think he
number.
gets in on the first ballot.
I've said this several times, but I do think we have to take a look at the end of his career. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, but there is no aura around Aaron Rodgers. There is no, golden glow from above Aaron Rodgers. Because in reality, since that Super Bowl win, 7-10 in the postseason, a lot of choke jobs in the playoffs. Again, we could blame the defense in some cases, but Rodgers against the Buccaneers, he's had some very bad games. This is one of them. This goes on, and it's going to be a stain, not a big stain, because he does have the 4 MVPs. He does have a Super Bowl win. He does have a lot of great accolades. He has, I think, the greatest touchdown to interception ratio. He has 47 touchdowns to 7 picks 1 year? It was ridiculous.
He does have one negative, I would say, is he alienated a lot of people along the way.
I agree.
With his arrogance. But he kind of got over that with the Jets and the Steelers.
No, he doesn't.
With the Steelers.
He just took a shot at the Jets.
He always spoke about the team and how great it was to the teammates and his coaching and all that. He was a really upfront upstanding person in the Steelers uniform, I thought. Well, but in Green Bay, I think he was a dink.
Yeah. Well, you got to kind of have to revise that now because he's now taking shots at the New York Jets.
Oh yeah, well,
so
they deserve it.
They do it to themselves.
Yeah,
they do it themselves. But no, I think Rodgers, he should hang it up because he is in that stage where he doesn't want to. I understand it, but he is in that stage where you can't get even close to him. A lot of quarterbacks don't want to get hit. You can't get close to him because then he would the internal clock goes fast. Get it out. Brady did that in age 45. You saw it that season. If the offensive line broke down a little bit, he wouldn't throw it downfield.
Didn't he have over 5,000 yards passing that season?
Not that season.
Well, it was right up there. It was a record-setting season for some statistics.
You think it was 2020, 2021 where he should have won MVP over
Look it
Rodgers.
up. See how many yards he had passing. I think it was over 5,000.
It was 5,300, but not
there
that.
There you go.
No, but no, that last
5,300 yards.
Right, and he should have won MVP. That was the one that Rodgers won. I agree with you on that. The year before or the year after that, his final year, he did have 4,700 yards.
Hey, not bad.
But you could see it in the performance, the eye test. He did not want to get hit. So again, it would be you back up 1-2, sense pressure a little bit that isn't there, a clean pocket, he'd throw it away because he didn't want to be hit. Against the Rams, he struggled mightily against the Rams. Against the Cowboys, look at that game again. The pass rush was really, really bothering Brady. He did not want to get touched, especially by Micah Parsons.
No, well, I can understand why you wouldn't want to be hit by Micah Parsons. I wouldn't want to be hit by Micah Parsons.
It hinders the ceiling of what your offense can be when your quarterback doesn't want to stand in there and take the hit.
I think that probably Rodgers is done.
I agree with that. The Texans, they did their job.
They're dangerous, man.
CJ Stroud played terribly. I mean, you had people online saying, Davis Mills, let's go. He calmed down, played better. Christian Kirk played extremely well. Nico Collins banged up. That's why I'm like, Patriots, how will they do? Because the Patriots did a great job at limiting Ladd McConkey, limiting Quentin Johnston, limiting Keenan Allen. So I think there is an opportunity for the Patriots to capitalize on Christian Kirk if Nico Collins can't go. And also limiting the run game, which the Patriots defense has done a pretty good job at basically all season. And I guarantee you Woody Marks and Nick Chubb won't have the game that they had against the Pittsburgh Steelers where they combined for over 150 rushing yards. Yeah. 160 to be exact. So we'll have to wait and see. Friday we do make our picks, by the way. You gave one away already. I think everybody was expecting that though. Just based on that. So yeah, that wraps up today's show. The off season is going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to get coaches. We should make some predictions on coaches because I don't know. John Hardwell's taking interviews. I think it's this week.
I think we should do that on Friday. We're down to we're down to four teams, right? There's
four games.
Four games. Sorry, four games, 8 teams.
Yeah.
It's
well, hopefully no one's.
We need another topic. We gotta have another topic. I think we should say where are these coaches? Where are these
Pro Bowl week?
Who's going to be the coach for these open teams?
Pro Bowl week.
Oh yeah, you want to wait till then? Some of them may be picked by then.
That's fine. We can react to it. But really, you want to talk about the Pro Bowl, the flag football Pro Bowl?
No, I don't want
to
talk about the Pro Bowl.
Nobody
I want to talk about the coaching changes.
Oh, we will 100%. So stay tuned for that. We're gonna make our picks on Friday's show. But yeah, for this episode of the Harvey Hour, my name's Nathan Harvey. That's Matt at Stephen Harvey. We thank you for the constant support as always. Make sure you hit that like button and that subscribe button and the notification button to get notified whenever we upload a video and whenever we go live. But for this episode, again, my name's Nathan Harvey. That's Matt at Stephen Harvey. We'll see you Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube.
Night, Grandpa.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.